the invitation. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much for inviting us here today to do this presentation. I want to thank all of you who have joined us today. Thank you so much for your time and for your attention for this really important topic of 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's, presented by the Alzheimer's Association of Long Island. My name is Taryn Katusian. I am the Community Education Manager for the Long Island chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. And it's my pleasure to introduce Donna Artola, who is one of our Alzheimer's Association volunteer community education educators, and she is fantastic. We're so excited to have her here with us today. And before we officially turn it over to Donna to get us started, just a couple of things I want to mention to you about today's program. So you're going to see and hear a lot of videos, a lot of interactive content. So there's going to be a good amount of that mixed in with some of the information that you'll see on the slides. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, you can feel free to enter them in the chat box, or if you may want to hold your question to see if it'll be answered throughout the presentation, you can always hold it and you can choose to ask it at the end as well. We will have time at the end for questions and discussion. So with that being said, if you can, everyone just please be mindful of your microphones. If you can please mute to avoid any unwanted noise. And with that, I'd like to introduce Donna, who will be presenting 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming here today. We're going to be talking about the 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's and really focusing on what could be possibly Alzheimer's or other dementia and what's just normal age-related memory loss. So we're just going to get started right away. So we're mindful of your time. So if we can go to the next slide. So here's our objectives for today. We're going to describe typical age-related memory, thinking, or behavioral changes. We're going to be able to recognize common warning signs of Alzheimer's and dementia. We'll discuss the tips for approaching someone about memory concerns, explain the importance of early detection and benefits of diagnosis, and identify possible tests and assessments for the diagnostic process. And lastly, we're going to name the resources available through the Alzheimer's Association, which are extensive. Next. There we go. So as Taryn said, we will be watching some videos throughout this program, and we're going to start with the Garcia. We'll start with Mary, who is a 73-year-old widow who lives alone. She's a retired teacher who has always meticulously cared for her home. And her daughter, Lydia, has recently been noticing laundry pile up and junk mail and old newspapers lying around the house, which is unusual behavior. Can we go to the next? So Lydia is the eldest of Mary's two daughters, and she lives just a few miles away and visits her mother frequently. And next, what we're going to see is some text messages between them. Patricia, the other daughter, lives in another state. She works long hours and isn't able to visit her mother as often as she likes. She communicates with Mary and Lydia frequently via phone and text messages. Okay. Next.
Apologies for that. There we go.
Here we go. Worried about mom. She keeps losing things and the house is a mess. Probably normal to get a little forgetful with age. It's so unlike her. Should we worry? Let's reach out to our neighbor, our old neighbor, Dr. Soloway. Play.
As we get older, cognitive problems become more noticeable for almost everybody, and it can vary from person to person. Typically with age, people have trouble coming up with the word they want right when they want it. They have trouble remembering names, and they don't think quite as quickly. What's more concerning, or what might be the beginning of a memory problem, is people have a lot of trouble coming up with words or names, and it's happening more frequently, and the words or names don't necessarily come to them later. and then they start misplacing things, but not just once in a while, because we all misplace things, but more often. And it begins to interfere day to day. That should be a warning sign for people that this might be the beginning of a memory problem.
So I just want to point out that the story about the Garcias is fictional, but that Dr. Soloway is an actual doctor. He's a real MD, and he's a leading expert in aging and Alzheimer's disease. All right, so our next part is the 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's. Next. So dementia and Alzheimer's are normally used interchangeably, and they're related, but they're not exactly synonyms. So we're going to go through some of the dementia terms and talk about some Alzheimer's experts. So let's go to what is dementia. Karen, we can click.
Dementia is the umbrella term for an individual's changes in memory, thinking, or reasoning. There are many possible causes of dementia, and Alzheimer's is the most common cause. Other causes of dementia are vascular dementia, which is marked by changes in the blood flow in the blood vessels in the brain. Dementia with Lewy bodies, identified by specific brain changes throughout the brain that include the buildup of a protein known as alpha-synuclein. And frontal temporal dementia, which is marked by brain cell loss in the front sections of the brain or the frontal lobe. Each type of dementia may have distinct characteristics to cause specific behaviors in the individual, but there is also some overlap in behaviors among the types of dementia.
All right, so dementia is the umbrella term, and Alzheimer's is a specific type of dementia. And the next thing we're going to see is what is Alzheimer's disease and what does it look like in the brain? Like,
There's a slight delay. Sorry about that, Donna.
that's right.
More than 100 years ago, Dr. Alice Alzheimer's described specific changes in the brain, what we call the formation of plaques and tangles. Now, Alzheimer's is a progressive brain disease that's marked by these key changes and is thought to impact memory, thinking, and behavior. The brain has three main parts: the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and the brainstem. Each one plays a role in how the body functions. The cerebrum fills up most of your skull. It is part of the brain most involved in remembering, problem solving, thinking, and even feelings. There are about 100 billion nerve cells or neurons throughout the brain that transmit messages in order for us to create memories, feelings, and thoughts. Alzheimer's disease causes nerve cells to die, which leads to the brain tissue loss, or what we call shrinkage, and causes loss of function and communication between cells. These changes can cause the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease, such as memory loss, problems with thinking, planning, behavioral issues, and even at the end stages, problems with swallowing.
Next, we're going to go over with Ruth Drew why it is important to know the signs.
It's important to know what the warning signs of Alzheimer's are and to be on the lookout. We know that we change over time, and the warning signs of Alzheimer's can be warning signs of a number of things, but when you see those in yourself or in someone you care about, it's important to check it out, to consult with a doctor to find out what you're dealing with.
All right, so the warning signs that we're going to talk about now is a list of most common warning signs, and this is not a diagnosis by any means. It's just something that the Alzheimer's Association put together to help people sort of start the conversation and start trying to think if they need to go get a real diagnosis. So individuals may experience one or more of these signs in different degrees. So we're going to take a look at all of the signs and compare it to what some typical age-related symptoms would be. All right, number one, memory loss that disrupts daily life. The possible signs of dementia, one of the most common signs of Alzheimer's is forgetting recently learned information. Others include forgetting important dates or events, asking the same question over and over again, increasingly relying on memory aids like notes or family members for tasks formerly managed with ease. Now, all of those things can be thought of as age-related changes also, but it's just the degree. So sometimes forgetting names or appointments, but remembering them later on happens to every one of us. So the next sign that we're going to talk about, is challenges in planning or solving problems. So possible signs of dementia. Some people may experience changes in their ability to develop and follow a plan or work with numbers, which may result in trouble following a familiar recipe or keeping track of monthly bills. Also, they may have difficulty concentrating and taking much longer to complete tasks. On the other hand, typical age-related changes is making occasional errors when managing finances or household bills. So there's a video. We'll see what was the sign for John.
I was probably spending 4 to 5 times more time preparing for something than I did, say, 5 or 10 years ago, because of I would lose my thought, I'd lose my focus, I'd get anxious, I wouldn't get to sleep. I was thinking, I was in my sleep, I was thinking about what I was anxious about, which was I was trying to remember, which was I was trying to prepare, which I was trying to do. So it was really a vicious circle of, so I was able to control it a lot, so that people wouldn't see things and there weren't things to be seen. It's what was disturbing me was what effort I had to put into to do the things I used to do more easily.
Okay, so to go along with John's video, our next sign is difficulty completing familiar tasks. So that would be number 3. So possible signs of dementia are people living with dementia commonly have difficulty completing daily tasks such as driving to a familiar location, organizing a grocery list, remembering the rules of a familiar game. And conversely, a typical age-related change that would be occasionally needing help to use a microwave or a remote. And this could include having trouble with new technology that the person hasn't had an opportunity to engage with frequently. So we're going to hear from another expert about the difficulty completing familiar tasks.
Some people have difficulty with math or with reading in a way that's unusual to them. And once again, this is a change in that person. So for example, we all know somebody who was never able to balance their checkbook, right? So that wouldn't be a warning sign for them. But if somebody who always balanced their checkbook to the penny suddenly was paying bills, the same bill over and over, and not able to balance their finances, well, that would be a sign for them.
All right, so number 4 of our 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's is confusion with time or place. So people living with Alzheimer's or other dementia can lose track of dates, seasons, and the passage of time. They could have trouble understanding something if it's not happening immediately. They could forget where they are or how they got here. And this can become more dramatic or profound in the middle and late stages. Conversely, a more typical age-related change would be getting confused about the day of the week, but then being able to figure it out later. So we're gonna continue with our 10 warning signs. And number 5 is trouble understanding visual images and spatial relationships. So what this means is for some people, having vision problems is a sign of dementia. And these vision problems could lead to difficulty with balance or trouble reading or trouble judging distance and determining color or contrast between colors. And this may cause issues with driving. The age-related change could be vision changes related to cataracts, which has nothing to do with the dementia. So we have a video to hear from our expert on this.
Alzheimer's disease is not just a disease of memory. It can affect other things too. It can affect the way that we perceive what we see. So sometimes somebody in the early stages of Alzheimer's might go to the eye doctor because they're having trouble seeing, and in fact, their vision is just fine, but the way they're perceiving what they're seeing may be difficult.
Yes, so our number 6 out of our 10 warning signs is new problem with words and speaking or writing. Individuals may have trouble following or joining a conversation. They might stop in the middle of a conversation and forget what they were talking about. They might continuously repeat themselves. It could be struggling with vocabulary, or they can't think of the name of an object or use the wrong name. And again, a normal age-related change, however, they'd be occasionally having trouble finding the right word. So we're going to hear from Phil in this video, who is living with Alzheimer's, about this particular sign, number 6.
The other thing that I've increasingly been struggling with are words, which I've dealt with words my entire life, you know, as an avid reader, as a reporter, as a writer. I struggle with them now.
So our next one, number 7, would be misplacing things and losing the ability to retrace your steps. This sign often causes concern in people. And to clarify, this is not just about losing your keys. It's about misplacing things and not being able to find it. They're going to lose things and not be able to recall when it was last seen, or I can't identify the location of where it was placed. Or you might put things in unusual places, like putting your shoes in the refrigerator. So this could lead to other problems, like accusing other people of stealing the objects, which may occur more frequently over time. So again, an age-related change, misplacing things from time to time, retracing your steps and being able to find them. So Ruth Drew, again, is going to be our expert about this sign, warning sign.
So some people wonder if, if they lose their keys or their glasses or their purse, is that a sign of Alzheimer's? And one thing that I would say about that is, for most of us, we might misplace something, but then if we retrace our steps, we can usually find it. We can usually remember. For a person with Alzheimer's, sometimes they're not able to retrace their steps. Sometimes that memory is just gone. And so when they do find their keys next to the phone because they got interrupted by a phone call when they were coming in, and they set their keys down in an unusual space, so there they are next to the phone. If that happened to you or me, we'd probably remember, oh yeah, the phone was ringing when I came in the door. I put down my keys. The person with Alzheimer's might not remember. They might wonder who's moving their keys around because they never put their keys by the phone. So that's just a little bit of a difference in some of the dynamics with losing things in Alzheimer's.
Okay, warning sign number 8 is decreased or poor judgment. People living with Alzheimer's may experience changes in judgment or decision making. They may use poor judgment when dealing with money, or pay less attention to grooming or keeping themselves clean. This is more common in people that live alone. Now, of course, we all make bad decisions and mistakes, and we all neglect to change the oil in the car, but this is more than just once in a while. So Teresa is going to tell us about decreased or poor judgment in the video.
The way I kept my house, I wouldn't say I was OCD, but pretty close to it. And all of a sudden, everything was okay with me. It's like, oh, it's a pile, I'm tired. So my dining room table usually looked like it was someone's office, because I always would say I would do it tomorrow. And then my bedroom, as far as clothing, I would just put it in a corner, put it in a chair. And all of this is just, I wouldn't say it looked like I was a pet wreck, but really I was, because I never threw anything away. I always would say, I'll get to it, but I never did get to it. So just the way of my standard of living, it was actually decreasing.
So for number 9, out of our 10 warning signs is withdrawal from work or social activities. So the person living with dementia can experience changes in the ability to hold or follow a conversation. So as a result of that, you might be withdrawing from activities and hobbies and social events or any other engagements. So they could have trouble keeping up with a favorite team or activity, but it's a result of not being able to follow a conversation. So sometimes feeling uninterested in family or social engagement happens to all of us, but this is more of a symptom because it's caused by the conversation, being unable to follow the conversation. So we're going to hear from another expert, Dr. Soloway, who we saw before.
One of the most common changes, and early on, is the person's comfort zone shrinks a little bit, and then that gets worse throughout the course of the illness. So they're less comfortable going out, they're less motivated to do things than they were in the past. So there's some change in day-to-day functioning that way. I think people also lose confidence in their cognitive abilities, because they may not recognize someone or know their name or find the right word, and they'll feel awkward, and they don't want people to notice that, so they feel more comfortable at home or in situations with family where they're very, very comfortable with that wouldn't concern them. So people tend to withdraw a little bit and be less outgoing. That's can be one of the early signs of Alzheimer's.
All right, our last change or warning sign is change in mood and personality. So people living with dementia may experience mood and personality changes, such as becoming confused, suspicious, depressed, fearful, or anxious. So getting easily upset at home, with friends, or when out of their comfort zone. So as Dr. Soloway said, the comfort zone shrinks as the dementia increases. So typical age-related changes are developing very specific ways of doing things and becoming irritable when a routine is disrupted. So again, Dr. Soloway is going to share more on the video.
Another early sign of Alzheimer's or dementia is subtle changes in behavior. So all of a sudden, the family may notice the person is more easily irritated, or more impatient, or a little moody, or have a shorter fuse, or more anxious. Now, there's lots of things that can cause that, but often that can be an early symptom of Alzheimer's or go along with the early symptoms of memory loss.
All right, so those are our 10 warning signs, and we're going to go check in with the Garcias again. So Mary's daughters are concerned about the changes that they saw in her mom, and they want to know when it's time to see a doctor to discuss these changes. So this is going to be their conversation. Did you look at the warning signs info I sent? I did, but still don't know. Mom's showing a couple signs, but not all the time. How do we know if it's serious enough to see a doctor? Let's check with Dr. Soloway.
Memory is not all or none, especially when there are early symptoms or signs. So on a good day, people might function very well and not really even, no one notices there's a memory problem. But on other days, especially if they're tired, then things become more noticeable. So memory is variable. It's not all or none. And then there are different type of symptoms that develop for each person. So some people may have trouble with language, may have trouble with organizing themselves, may have trouble navigating while driving, and other people don't have the same symptoms. So you don't have to have every symptom of Alzheimer's to be concerned. And I think the most important thing is determining what has changed from that person's normal level of functioning. And usually people have a pretty keen sense of, what they can normally do well. And then when either they or the family notice that there has been some change from that usual pattern of functioning, that should be a warning sign to people. But they don't have to check off all the boxes.
Yes, so Dr. Soloway gave us a good recap. Those 10 warning signs that we just went over is only a guide to identify problems that may be related to Alzheimer's. And like he said, you don't have to check off all 10 boxes, and individuals could experience one of them or a couple of them, and all to varying degrees. But you don't have to experience all of them to be concerned. So if you see any of these signs in yourself or in other people, it's important to see a doctor and get a real diagnosis. So to that end, our next topic is going to be early detection. So early detection is important for a variety of reasons. So it's important that we pay attention to what's going on with our own cognitive health and not dismiss any changes in ourselves or others around us. Next. So often it's our friends and family that are the first to notice changes in someone's memory, behavior, or ability. And in this module, we're going to discuss why it's critical to address any observed changes early and to seek medical advice. So we're going to hear from the experts, and then we're going to talk about what did Mary notice. So first, hear from the experts.
It's a very interesting phenomena that people who have memory problems are often less aware of it than family members or their friends who know them well. One of the reasons for that is our ability to monitor ourselves, which is an important part of brain function, decreases when we start having memory problems. Not in everybody, but commonly, and more than half the people with memory problems. And so the person is just not keeping track of the trouble they're having day to day. But the family members are, paying attention. If they're paying attention, they see, boy, this is starting to happen a lot, and the person's not aware of it. So the family's more aware, and they may talk to their loved one about it, and they say, I've noticed you've been repeating yourself. And they say, I'm not repeating myself. And that could either be due to the fact that they're not aware of it, or they may not want to acknowledge it.
I was so adamant about what was happening to Daryl. I wasn't sure. I didn't know. And this wasn't the person that I know. This wasn't the person. Daryl was my husband was very, he always had to be building or designing or working with his hands. And it was getting to the point where he wasn't, and he was becoming very frustrated when he was forgetting to do things or go places.
So we're going to talk about what should you do if you notice changes in someone. If you continue to observe these changes, it's critical that you have a conversation with the person or with people that are close to this person about what you've noticed. And this could be pretty uncomfortable conversation to have, but it is very, very important, especially about people who live alone, to get this outside perspective and to address the memory concerns. So the Alzheimer's Association developed a roadmap of 10 helpful steps to help make addressing memory concerns less daunting and more productive. So we're going to go through the 10 steps. Number 1 is, what changes in memory, thinking, or behavior do you see? And what is the person doing or not doing that is causing concern? So the next one, number 2, would be, what else is going on? So your changes that you see can be caused by many conditions, including a change in memory, thinking, or behavior. But are there any other health or lifestyle issues that could be contributing to these changes? It could be due to stress or diabetes, or if there's a change in medication. So we're going to look at number 3, is to learn about the signs and benefits of early diagnosis. So since you're here, you're joining us for this program and learning about this, we can talk about if you notice any of the signs in the person you're concerned about. So the benefits of early diagnosis are tremendous. So number 4, 10 steps to approach memory concerns is, has anyone else noted these changes? So talk with people, talk with friends and other family members, and discuss what if they notice and what if you notice, and is it the same thing or is there a difference? So that's a good start to the conversation, which is number 5, which is have the conversation. And like we said before, this could be a little uncomfortable, but who are you going to have the conversation with? So it could be the person themselves, other family members, a combination of friends and family, but it's usually best to speak one-on-one so the person doesn't feel ambushed or threatened, and use what you know about the person itself. If you know this person best, then you know how to approach them. So you're just having a conversation with somebody you love. So another step to approach your memory concerns is number 6. When are you going to have this conversation, and where is it going to take place? So we want it to be a comfortable place, and it should be as soon as possible. So if you identify a date and a time, you also can consider where the person will feel the most comfortable, because we don't want to be threatening in any way about this conversation because it's already difficult enough. So number 7. So what are you going to say? So you can actually plan out in advance. What do you want to get across? So you can say things like, I've noticed this particular change in you and I'm concerned. And have you noticed this change? Are you worried? And how have you been feeling lately? Or you haven't seemed like yourself. And I noticed that blah, 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 and it worried me. And has this happened before? Has anything else like this happened? So the next step after having this would be, say, I'll go with you to the doctor. So be with them to support them and offer to go to the doctor and ask them, try using encouraging words such as, there are lots of things that could be causing this. So the doctor can help us figure out what's going on. And the sooner that we know what's causing the problems, the sooner we address it. And you can say, it's going to give us both peace of mind if we just go talk to the doctor. So encourage this any way you can. So, number 9 in steps, this might not happen in one fell swoop. You might need to have multiple conversations about this. So I know we see videos and it's all like this and this and this, and it's all sequenced out, but that's not really how life works sometimes. So you might need to have a bunch of conversations about this over and over again. And don't be discouraged. So take down some notes, prepare for your conversation, and don't dismiss the changes because the conversation didn't go well. And if the person is reluctant to talk about it, that still doesn't mean you should be like, oh, okay. So don't dismiss what you know to be true. And then the last one, number 10, is get information. And the information on the ALZ website is extensive, and they have people to support you and people to talk to you at 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And then we're going to finally see the doctor. Okay, so what kind of doctor? Most people address concerns about memory, thinking, or behavior with their primary care physician. However, in some cases, the primary care physician will refer the person to see a specialist for further evaluation. So these specialists could be a geriatrician, a neurologist, a neuropsychologist, a psychiatrist, or a psychologist. So the first step is your primary care physician. Okay. So we know what to look for now, and we know how to approach the conversation. And now we're going to talk about what are the benefits of early detection. So paying attention to changes you notice in people, especially. Is she playing? I don't know.
I stopped the video, Donna.
Okay, so we're going to just talk about what is the benefits of early detection. Again, Ruth Drew is going to be talking about paying attention to changes that you notice in people, especially regarding their memory or their behavior, and why it's important to get this early detection.
There are a number of benefits in early detection of Alzheimer's. For one thing, a person is able to have a voice in what happens next. They can make plans. They can live life more on their own terms. They can also make plans for the future, financial plans, care plans. They can let people know what they want, which can be a real gift later on. It also allows time for families to make plans and to make decisions about who can do what and figure out care and those kinds of issues. Also, the treatments that are available for Alzheimer's don't cure Alzheimer's. They don't slow down the disease, but they do help with symptoms. And it seems as though they tend to work better the earlier a person is able to use those. So that can help too. Some people are interested in clinical trials. Clinical trials allow people to have access to treatments that aren't available yet. And for some people, that can be a really important thing to pursue.
So here's a recap of the importance of early detection. To pay attention to any changes in memory, thinking, or behavior that you notice in people. If you see changes that are unusual for the person, take action by having a conversation. And discussing these types of concerns can be difficult. So consider using the 10 steps to approach memory concerns as a guide. So there are a number of benefits to early detection, including the opportunity to plan for the future, access treatments for symptoms, and participate in clinical studies. So our next module is going to be about seeking a diagnosis. So we're going to look at what might be involved in the medical process to determine the cause or the symptoms. So before that, we're going to do a little test for you to test your knowledge. So we have a true-false question. There's currently no way to diagnose Alzheimer's disease. So that would be false. So contrary to outdated belief that Alzheimer's diagnosis can only be made at autopsy, there are a number of assessments and tests that make it possible for healthcare professionals to diagnose Alzheimer's and dementia with a high degree of certainty. However, determining the cause of dementia can sometimes be more difficult. So let's go to the next one. So here are some possible assessments and tests, and the assessments may include a medical history, a physical, a screen for depression, an interview with close friends and family, and the tests may include laboratory tests, mental cognitive status tests, and brain imaging. So keep in mind that everyone may be asked to undergo all of these or some of these, depending on your doctor. So on the next slide, we're going to find out what Mary's daughters are preparing for answers about their mom's changes in their behavior. Do dementia-like symptoms always result in a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or other dementia? So we're going to look at their text messages again. Appointments have been going well. Mom's handling them okay. Think it's really dementia? Guess we won't know until we get a diagnosis, but let's ask Dr. Soloway if it could be possibly anything else.
Someone could have high blood pressure that's out of control. Or they might have a thyroid condition that's not regulated, or diabetes that's not right, or on a medication that actually can cause memory loss. Drinking too much alcohol can make memory worse. So there are a lot of factors that go into cognitive difficulty with aging that some of them can be remedied. And so we want to do everything we can to improve cognitive ability and quality of life.
So seeking a diagnosis recap. The diagnostic experience may vary from person to person. Something other than Alzheimer's or dementia could be causing the symptoms. And the stigma and misconceptions about the disease, like believing nothing can be done, can prevent some people from seeking a diagnosis. So getting information and support is a critical next step. So the Alzheimer's Association offers both support and information. So what's next when the diagnosis is Alzheimer's? Going to check in with Mary's daughters, Lydia and Patricia. I called but got your voicemail. How'd it go? Call you later when I get home, but the diagnosis is early stage Alzheimer's. Oh no, what do we do now? Doc said Alzheimer's Association offers free resources. Some even help people live well with the disease. We'll call soon, but left office with some hope. Sorry. So now we're going to go to our next module, which is all about the Alzheimer's Association itself. So the Alzheimer's Association is in communities across the country and provides direct services. So the mission for Alzheimer's Association to lead the way to end Alzheimer's and all other dementia by accelerating global research, driving risk reduction and early detection, and maximizing quality care and support. Our vision is a world without Alzheimer's and all other dementia. So the Alzheimer's Association key resources include being available wherever and whenever you need reliable information and support. There's a 24/7 helpline. On the phone, you could always go online to alz.org. And nationwide, there are communities, so you can find them at alz.org/CRF. I forget what that stands for.
Community Resource Finder.
There it is. Okay, thank you. Okay, so you can call that number anytime, day or night. It provides access to highly trained and knowledgeable staff who can help with education, decision-making, crisis assistance, and resource identification. So, and it's available in 200 languages. Oh, we're going back. Okay. So master level clinicians are available around the clock to provide in-depth care consultation. This is free of charge and can help you navigate the services offered to families at any stage of the disease. So we're going to hear from Tim on the next slide, who is a care partner who has called the helpline for support.
I've had a couple of phone calls that I've been able to make in to the call center when I've had a couple of quick questions that I wanted to ask. You know, there's been a couple of nights, 2 o'clock in the morning, you have questions, you have anxieties, and I was struggling dealing with them, and it's amazing. It was one of the best things I ever did was keeping the call center on my favorites now. Just to know that there's somebody you can call who is aware of what you're going through.
So Tim used the helpline, 800-272-3900, but for most people, their first stop might be the website, alz.org. The website includes sections specifically for people living with the disease. And there's another section specifically for caregivers. So we're going to hear from Teresa, who's living with Alzheimer's, about what questions she had and the information that she found on the alz.org website.
When I went to the Alzheimer's Association website, which is alz.org, there I was trying to find out more about what was Alzheimer's, what really is this disease, what is younger onset Alzheimer's, what is dementia, is there a cure, how long has this been around, how many people are affected by this, where can I go for resources, where can I go for help, what do I do with this? How can I handle this? Is there more people like me out there? Is there someone that I can talk to if I need to? And there I found the support line that's 24 hours a day. And there I found where I can go for workshops, where I can go and read things and postings that people have done, where I can find out what events is happening in the Alzheimer's Association, where I can see how it's affecting people around the globe.
All right, lastly, in communities nationwide, alz.org/CRF Community Resource Finder, there is a wealth of community-based resources available in your area, including information about long-term care and community-based services, where local association offices are and what they offer in terms of programs and support services. So we're going to hear from Tom, who's living with Alzheimer's, and he's going to share his experience seeking help from the association.
Since I've been diagnosed with dementia, the one place that I know I can go to for assistance and help and support is to the Alzheimer's Association. There are people there that I know by name that I can contact if I'm having a difficult time or if I'm struggling to find some resource, that they will provide that to me.
Okay, so next we've taken a look at a basic look at the Alzheimer's disease and what resources are available. So now we're going to talk about quickly how you can take action. So there are a couple ways to join the fight. So the first way is to volunteer. So we can volunteer, we can have advocacy, a trial match, and ways to end Alzheimer's. So firstly, for volunteers, whether you can spare a few hours a week or make a more significant time commitment, consider volunteering with the Alzheimer's Association. Numerous opportunities are available, including becoming a community educator or joining your local walk planning committee. So please go to alz.org/volunteer. A second way is you could do advocacy, and you can become an Alzheimer's Association advocate and speak out on behalf of the needs and rights of those facing Alzheimer's disease. So alzimpact.org is a good place to start. The third way that you can become involved is by trial match. Everyone can help advance Alzheimer's research by participating in clinical trials. Get started with Alzheimer's Association Trial Match, a free, easy-to-use clinical study matching service. So alz.org/trial match. And a walk to end Alzheimer's. Form or join a team for the Alzheimer's Association Walk to End Alzheimer's and raise critical funds and awareness. This is held annually in more than 600 communities nationwide. Walk to End Alzheimer's is the world's largest fundraiser for Alzheimer's care, support, and research. So please go to alz.org/walk, and Taryn can give you more stats on this. I know there was thousands and thousands and thousands of people walking. So on the longest day, the day with the most light, the summer solstice, we raise funds and awareness for the care, support, and research efforts of the Alzheimer's Association through an activity of your choice. So alz.org/the-longest-day. Okay, that was a tremendous amount of information. And so now we can take some questions, if you like.
If you do have any questions that you'd like to ask, you can unmute yourself and ask if you're comfortable to do that, or you can also type them in the chat. If you'd rather not have your question in the public chat, you can message one of us directly, either Donna or myself, and we can anonymously read that question and answer it. Also, if you do not have any questions, this would officially conclude our workshop. So if you don't have any questions, oh, hello.
I'm sorry, that was me.
But if you don't have any questions, we're still going to stay here for another minute or two. But if you don't have any questions, we are finished with today's workshop. So you are free to log off if you don't have any questions or any lingering thoughts that you'd like to share.
Thank you very much for coming here today and being a part of this. We appreciate it.
Yes, we want to especially thank Middle Country Public Library. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sarah, for not only setting this up for us and inviting us to present, but your time and being here with us today as well. You know, we really couldn't do workshops like this without you and without partners like you. So thank you so much for being here.
No problem, and thank you. And again, that we will have it on our Middle Country YouTube page, which is mcpl.tv. If you guys want to share that, we'll have it up for about 2 days. 3 if that's okay with you. And so people can watch it that missed it also. So
Sure.
thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Have a great
guys.
evening.
You too.
Bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.